Once again, I find myself in Iceland, a land of fire and ice, but above all, and what make this island so unique, a land of contrasts. Contrasts of landscapes, of course, where mountains dramatically fall into the ocean. Contrasts of textures, where the organic meets the mineral. Contrasts of colors, where volcanic black is wrapped in soft, mossy green. This is my second journey to Iceland. I felt the need to return, to explore places I hadn't had time to reach during my first trip. But this journey is not only about landscapes, it's, above all, about reconnecting with that strange sense of creative freedom, alone with my van and my camera. Here, nature is everywhere. It invites us to let go, to slow down, to experience each moment fully, with every sense awake. My first destination, the Westfjords, with a stop at Glymur. This waterfall is breathtaking, nestled between towering cliffs, deep inside a narrow canyon. The hike is demanding, but the reward lies at the end of the trail. The Westfjords stay far from the usual tourist routes, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I plan to explore several sites, and Rauðisandur is an essential stop. A vast stretch of golden sand, both wild and luminous, suspended between ocean and mountains. It's past midnight, and the glow behind the peaks will stay with me until morning. This is the magic of the midnight sun, the eternal dialogue between dusk and dawn. Further along the coast rise the cliffs of Látrabjarg. This is the kingdom of seabirds, razorbills, gulls, fulmars, kittiwakes, arctic terns, guillemots, and of course, the thousands of Atlantic puffins that inhabit these dramatic cliffs. You could spend hours watching them, each bird finding its place, sharing the same fragile balance in perfect harmony. And in those moments, you can't help but feel that humanity should, more often, learn from what nature has to show us. Then, I set my course toward Dynjandi, one of Iceland's most beautiful waterfalls. What gives it its unique charm is its singular shape, cascading down the rock face like a natural staircase. Its nickname, the Bridal Veil, is truly well-deserved. The best part is that it's 9 p.m. and I have the entire place to myself, and it's a true pleasure to be able to fully enjoy it. Later that evening, I reached the campsite of the small coastal village of Thingeyri, where I spend the night by the water's edge. After leaving the Westfjords, I reconnect with the Ring Road and continue my exploration of the north of the island. I make a short stop at Goðafoss, the waterfall of the gods. Though undeniably beautiful, it tends to draw the crowds. I'm getting closer to the area of Mývatn Lake, a truly fascinating place to explore. The volcano Hverfjall is impressive not only for its sheer scale, but also because no vegetation grows there. It is from the air that you truly grasp the immense size of the crater. I then head toward another place that had long been on my list, the volcanic area of Krafla. The landscape feels otherworldly, between steaming fumaroles, vast lava fields, and bubbling geothermal pools. The last eruption occurred more than 30 years ago, yet you can still sense the raw power and the energy resting just beneath the surface. I continue my journey toward one of the true highlights of this trip, the volcano Askja. Deep in the heart of the island, it is one of the most remote and unforgiving regions in Iceland. Reaching it is not easy, but that's precisely what makes it a real adventure. The surreal landscapes you discover there are more than worth the effort. There are several routes from the north. I take the F905, supposedly longer but less monotonous than the F88, and I can tell you there is nothing boring about it. At first, the track feels manageable, but the deeper you go, the rougher it becomes. More technical, more unpredictable, requiring skill, patience, and unwavering concentration. The track stretches endlessly ahead, sometimes barely more than a scar across the wilderness. The road is long, more than 100 kilometers, highly technical in places with sharp rocks and soft sand. My speed rarely exceeds 20 kilometers per hour. But what a spectacle! The surrounding landscapes are stunningly versatile. You will be driving on gravel, through black ash fields, yellow sands, and even on huge volcanic boulders. Most of the drive unfolds under the watchful gaze of the towering volcano, Hörðubraut, rising in the distance like a natural fortress guarding the Highlands. Askja is a volcanic giant spanning 45 square kilometers, formed nearly 10,000 years ago. Successive eruptions over centuries have sculpted a landscape of dramatic scale and raw beauty. Over time, groundwater slowly seeped into the caldera, gradually filling it to create what is now Lake Öskjavatn. Right beside it lies VT, a volcanic maar, a crater filled with milky, pale green water. Its surreal pastel color almost feels unreal. Some even venture in to bathe in its warm waters, which reach around 25 degrees Celsius. I leave Askja with the feeling of having witnessed something raw and powerful. I turn back along the same rugged track, my compass set firmly east. After a long day of hiking and wrestling with chaotic highland tracks, I long for something gentler. On my map, one name stands out: Laugavellir. Hidden deep within a secluded valley, it feels almost otherworldly. A true mineral oasis, one of a kind, where a warm waterfall cascades naturally down the rock face. To slip beneath this 40-degree cascade is pure serenity. Muscles release, thoughts soften, time loosens its grip. A fleeting yet timeless interlude suspended, silent and profoundly peaceful. Not far from there lies Hafrahvammar Canyon, another hidden gem that few travelers ever reach. It is, without a doubt, the most awe-inspiring canyon I have seen in Iceland. This narrow gorge, plunging 200 meters deep, opens up over nearly 8 kilometers, as if the earth had suddenly cracked. I leave the Highlands via the Road 95, heading toward the island's southern coast. Tempted by a shorter way, I turn onto Road 939. However, it quickly turns into a nerve-testing stretch. A dense fog wraps around the road, swallowing the landscape and trailing me mile after mile all the way to the coast. I follow the ring road, leaving the Eastfjords behind as the landscape slowly opens toward the south. I make a brief stop at the Skaftafell black sand beach. There, the lone sea stack, known as Stabbin, stands watch, a steadfast guardian facing the open sea. Ahead of me rises a silent giant, Vatnajökull. Beneath this immense ice cap, spanning over 8,400 square kilometers, it's hard to believe that several active volcanoes lie hidden below. From its immense body, glacier tongues spill down toward the lowlands. I make my way to one of them, Skaftafell, where the glacier feels close enough to touch. The glacier stretches across the entire valley, unfolding in subtle shades of white, blue, and grey. Dark bands of volcanic ash streak through the ice, silent traces of eruptions long past. This slow-moving river of ice eventually flows into a lagoon below, formed by the glacier's own meltwater. But this landscape is constantly changing. Year after year, the glacier retreats a little farther, offering a powerful reminder of a warming world. Not far from here lies the glacial lagoon of Jokulsarlòn, fed by the glacier Breiðamerkurjökull. The lagoon first began to form in the 1930s, has since grown into an immense lake, now the deepest in Iceland, reaching 248 meters. Icebergs of every shape and size drift silently across its surface, slowly carried toward the ocean. Some of these floating giants complete their final journey on the nearby black sand shore, where the ice glitters like scattered diamonds against the dark volcanic sand beach. Another journey into the Highlands begins, this time toward Lakagígar and its central volcano, Laki, accessible via Route 206. The track follows the edge of Fjallaglufur, a striking and singular geological formation. Its palagonite cliffs, draped in soft green moss, make it one of the most iconic natural landscapes in the country. Beyond it, the 206 F-Road winds for nearly 40 kilometers through a remote and desolate landscape where vibrant green moss blankets the ground, contrasting sharply with the dark volcanic earth. As I draw closer to Laki, the scenery grows increasingly dramatic, with endless lava fields stretching as far as the eye can see. In 1783, a massive eruption raged here for months, triggering one of the greatest catastrophes in Iceland's history. Toxic gases decimated nearly a quarter of the population, along with much of the livestock and crops. More than 2 centuries later, the landscape still feels apocalyptic, a stark reminder of nature's raw and destructive power. The climb to the summit of Laki is steep, but the reward awaits at the top. From there, a sweeping 360-degree panorama reveals the full scale of the volcanic system, an immense chain of craters and cones unfolding for dozens of kilometers, stretching beyond the limits of sight. As I follow the chain of craters, some reveal a presence more striking than others, especially Lakagígar, where a small turquoise lake rests quietly within the crater, an unexpected burst of color in this lunar landscape. Along the 207F road, the sensation of stepping onto another world becomes overwhelming. Black ash stretches in every direction, raw and untouched, while patches of vivid green moss cling to the ground, a fragile life contrasting against the volcanic minerality. I leave the Laki landscape behind and rejoin F-Road 208, a track I had followed the year before, this time in reverse, heading north. Halfway through, a discreet turnoff leads toward the volcanic fissure of Eldgjá, the largest volcanic canyon on Earth. The hike that follows winds deep into the heart of this vast scar in the Earth. It is both gentle and extraordinary, unfolding through a landscape that feels almost mystical. At the end, a reward awaits. Rauðisandur, a powerful cascade, once known as the Unfordable Falls, plunging through the canyon in multiple tiers, raw and untamed. I leave the Highlands behind for the last time, yet one final adventure awaits, an unexpected finale to this journey. Only a few days earlier, a new eruption had emerged on the Reykjanes Peninsula. Missing it was simply not an option. As I drew closer, a thin veil of haze began to soften the horizon. The smell of sulfur lingered in the air, growing stronger with every passing kilometer. A sense of anticipation mingled with excitement slowly began to build. Somewhere ahead, the Earth was opening once again. It took a good 2 hours of hiking to reach the first cooled lava flows. Ahead of me, glowing ribbons of lava continued their slow but relentless advance, consuming everything in their path. My first impression was the heat. Even after solidifying, the lava radiated an intense warmth, making it difficult to remain nearby for long. But what struck me most was the sound. Beneath the roar of the wind came an unexpected noise, the sharp crackling of cooling lava, like shattered glass, endlessly breaking apart. As this adventure draws to a close, I feel incredibly grateful to have experienced something so extraordinary, and I leave with a heart full of unforgettable memories. But this is far from goodbye. If anything, this journey has only strengthened my desire to keep exploring this extraordinary land. But what keeps drawing me back isn't just the incredible landscapes or the raw beauty of nature. It's that feeling of absolute serenity, of being completely present, enjoying the silence, and finding joy in the stillness. A feeling that leaves me peaceful, refreshed, and somehow renewed. Feeling alone in the world, yet never lonely.